16 for 21, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he even ran one in himself. Go back last year to the 49ers versus Buccaneers game. Yes, the GOAT, Tom Brady, versus the mini GOAT in the making, Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy, who was given the reins to the 49ers offense and made his first career start. I kind of sort of think of the Miami game as his real start, considering he played 3 quarters and diced up McDaniel and the Dolphins. But baby boy got the go-ahead to be the guy for the 49ers during the Bucs game. I know everyone was tripping, thinking, oh dear, football gods, we are truly screwed. The ship is sinking. This is it. I didn't think that. I even tweeted that I've got this kid's back until the wheels fall off. That they did not. See, Purdy proved his worth as a starter in the Bucs game last season. He outshined the greatest football player of all time, and he solidified his place on this roster. I realized his confidence then. The media all week was testing him about going up against Brady, and he did not waver. He was cool as a flipping cucumber, a skill I've come to truly appreciate about him, along with his accountability and his ability to bounce the fuck back after an 0-3 skid. Some peeps called for his benching. No, not me. I wanted him to start even harder. That's what she said. Purdy proved me right last weekend against the Jags, and ever since that game against the Bucs last season, I felt that the 49ers have truly found their franchise guy. Now, you can tell me he needs his pieces around him to look elite, but I'd argue every quarterback does. Football is a team sport. Offensive lines save lives. Defense wins championships. And Deebo Samuel is a Swiss Army knife that I believe leads our team in more ways than just out of the tunnel during the bump box walkout. When healthy, the 49ers are the best team in the NFL. I will take that to the bank and cash the fuck out of it. By the way, Deebo peeped up my story on Instagram the other day, and I predicted that he'd score a touchdown. Guess what? He did. Kyle Juszczyk's amazing wife, Kristen, shared the same video on her Instagram story, and boom, Juice scored a touchdown. He took it away from CMC, but we'll let that one slide because we got a major dub against the Jags, not even allowing one touchdown to them. That is the Bosa and Chase Young effect, by the way. The spicy D I absolutely adore is back. The 49ers are all the way back, and Brock Purdy will have a full circle moment against Tampa Bay this weekend to prove that he's not back because he never left. It's Bucs week, baby.
Let's go.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Cryssy, and this is Crystal Ballin', a weekly show in which I preview the 49ers schedule by interviewing an analyst from the opposing team with a sprinkle of spicy start and sit suggestions for your fantasy lineups too. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, I appreciate the hell out of you. Let's get into it. There are lots of peeps heading to the game this weekend in beautiful San Francisco. Shout out to my UK faithful dudes, Paul Hope, Lee Gallen, and the rest of the squad who will be representing in the gold mine on Sunday. I'm so excited to see you guys up there. Be cheering you guys on at the game because I just know that those guys have been looking forward to this game for a very long time. And yeah, I cannot wait to see you guys there. I don't follow the Bucs much other than for fantasy football reasons. Mike Evans used to be the guy for me. Considering I just married a dude with the last name Evans, we are fans of him, but there's been a slight drop off from the Brady Bucs to what we see now. Baker's done a fine job. And honestly, I've never really understood the hate that he gets. He's always reminded me of the same kind of style of Jimmy Garoppolo, and we all know how I felt about him. I'm no expert in Tampa. I don't really know what they're doing well, which players we need to look out for. I just know that Bosa and Baker have some history. He's about to plant yet another flag on Mayfield's tushy. Him and his best buddy Chase Young will have meetings upon meetings at the quarterback. They are the cutest together, by the way. My next guest knows his shit when it comes to all Bucs everything. He hails from Orlando, Florida. He's someone I met when I first started talking fantasy football and truly embodies the role of community ambassador for the football guys. He's the host of Sunday Morning Live, an analyst for Front Yard Fantasy, and he's the face of Start, Sits, and Salutations. My guy is seriously a ray of sunshine. Everyone, please give a mini cheer to Joey Wright. What's up, Joey?
Hey. So, ray of sunshine. I wore the creamsicle to embody the sun for you today.
Did you? So I love it.
Bright makes it even more bright. So
seriously, you're ever since I started following you, you're somebody that's just totally made my day. Even if I'm having kind of an off day, some of your tweets are just amazing. All the things that you do for Start, Sits, and Salutations. I think that's what truly captured my heart. So I appreciate you taking the time to do this just so I can even feel some of that warmth. So thank you again. For those of you.
Thank you.
for those who may not know you, can you give us a bit of background on just kind of all the fun things that you do in the fantasy space?
Yeah, so right now I'm with two companies. I'm the community ambassador for Football Guys. That's my kind of my main role that I'm doing the most. I do Football Guys Sunday morning live over there, and then just this last week I was on the fantasy football show they do. I hop on there probably every other week. Dave Kluge and Alfredo Brown, they seem to grab me by the collar and pull me on the show whenever they can. Just have a good time. And and I'm always on the Twitter and the Discord. So if you ever get a reply from like the Football Guys Twitter account, it's most likely me. And then I'm in the Discord all the time, helping people with starts and sits and trade questions and just trying to build that community up. We've got a lot of fun stuff coming in this off season to kind of build our community even larger. And that's kind of what I'm most excited about, but I'm not allowed to talk about it yet. So just keep your eyes peeled. And then at Front Your Fantasy, we're doing the game show every Thursday, and you're absolutely invited to come on the game show anytime you'd like.
Oh my God,
every
fun.
Thursday at 3 p.m. So it'd be kind of late for you because you're overseas.
Yeah. But that's okay. We're doing this at around the same time right now. I'm okay with that.
That's true. That's true. And probably what I'm most known for is Start, Sits, and Salutations. This little series I created where I kind of go out into nature, talk to animals, give fantasy advice. Sometimes I, save shoes from the road. I do all kinds of crazy stuff. Go to fairy gardens, anything I can do to have fun and get out there and just be different than your normal start and sit show. Like on a camera, it's really fun talking to some people, but sometimes it's fun just to get out into nature and into the world and, just see what's going on. So I've kind of made my yearns with that. So yeah.
Yes. What's your favorite episode of Start, Sits, and Salutations that you've done?
I feel like the one where I had to say goodbye to my shoes because there's a secret message in there. I'm actually saying goodbye to someone that left the team for Front Your Fantasy, and it was very close to me. But I kind of hit all the jokes and all like the little Easter eggs, and I sang in the episode because I was in musical theater, and I sang terribly in the episode on purpose. Yeah. But it was just kind of everything I'd wanted to do in one episode. And
I love it.
The one I did at Expo where I interviewed analysts, that was a lot of fun too. But
I saw that.
So trying to think of like, oh, thank you. So trying to think of like, what am I going to do next? Because I want each one to be better than the next. So, yeah.
And with that one, do you do it every single week, or do you just kind of do it when it inspires you?
I do it when it inspires me. When I get the idea, usually I'm like standing in the shower and then I'm like, oh, I should go to SeaWorld. Like just random things just pop in my head. Cause I don't ever like, if I look at some of my favorite like television series of all time, they're all very kind of short, like 1 or 2 seasons and that's it. And then they got out and it was never stale. And so I don't ever want it to become stale. Right. And the moment that it does, I'll just probably never do it again.
Well, no, I mean, you got to do it when it's like, the creativity juices are flowing and everything. I kind of like that you're not just like, okay, I have to do this. It's like, no, I do it when it's ready, That's good, when it's marinated. Okay, so I do see that you're in Orlando, Florida. Have you always lived there? Are you born and raised Bucs fan kind of thing?
Yeah, I was born in Cape Canaveral, Florida. My first love in football in the NFL was actually the Dallas Cowboys. But let me explain why, because it's very controversial. I was a huge Florida Gator fan, and Emmitt Smith coming out of Florida, going to the Cowboys. But then, as I got a little older, I wanted all my teams to kind of be more central in my area to root for my hometown teams. So I picked the Bucs, and there's been 2 really big highs and lots and lots and lots of lows. But I love the lows. I like rooting for losing teams. I don't know why it is. Maybe I just like an underdog. I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like it's like pain is so great because like as soon as you don't feel that pain anymore, like it just feels even better. You know what I mean? I don't know. I kind of feel that way, like being a 49ers fan the last little bit, because like I never experienced like the Joe Montana days and whatnot. So for me, I've just experienced pain as a 49ers fan. Like winning seasons are fun, but like are they fun when you continue to lose? I don't know. So anyways, have you been to a game before?
Yeah, so I've been to probably a dozen Bucs games over the years. My favorite one was a Sunday night game against the Seattle Seahawks. And it was the first time that they ever used the camera that's on the little zip lines. And we were kind of sitting a little bit above it. So we got to see the camera like flying up and down the field and just hearing the people go, ooh, ah. It was like people weren't even watching the game. They were just excited by this camera flying up and down the field. That was a crazy memory. But we have a pirate ship in our stadium, so that's kind of cool always.
I know. Yeah. Have you ever sat in that section or like where you're?
I've not sat in it. I've been on the pirate ship though.
Oh, that's fun.
I have been up on it. So,
yeah, That's so cool.
Throw
Okay,
beads
so
down to people. It's fun.
oh, amazing. I have to ask because like obviously you guys had the GOAT join your team. When you guys, when you actually acquired him, I was attending sports broadcasting school, and that's all we talked about for weeks. Like Tom Brady to the Bucs, Tom Brady to the Bucs. It was huge news. So, what was your initial reaction to the signing of him?
I was confused. I really was, because I felt like it was the first time that the Bucs made a trade, a win now trade. Every other
Yeah.
trade for them, it just never materialized. It seemed this one, it seemed like, well, this is going to work out because the team's great. And I kind of felt like Brady kind of chose us. We didn't really choose him. He's just like, yep, that's the defense I want to play with. Because, go back to that Super Bowl, it was the defense that kind of won that championship.
Mm.
Not
Yeah,
to say anything bad about Brady. Having him there, he got us there. But in that
yeah,
single game, but Brady was smart. He picked a great defense. And,
yeah.
Mike Evans being on the team. And so, yeah.
In general, what did that season mean to you?
It was man. You talked about like a ray of sunshine that I am. That season, winning the Super Bowl was a ray of sunshine for me. I went through like 3 surgeries that year, that were just kind of like hernia and like had my gallbladder removed,
Oh
and
my
like had a
gosh.
small stroke. It was a crazy year. So the Bucs
Oh
winning
my
the Super Bowl
gosh.
was just like, oh man, this is great. But it had to happen during that COVID year that there's like no one
Yeah,
there. So,
I
but
know.
I'm not going to complain about winning a world championship.
I know. Honestly, at the end of the day, like it's still exciting to watch, and like that's a nice little cherry on top of like everything that happened to you, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you came out the other end on that.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
so I like to ask this to all my guests: if you could go for a beer or your favorite kind of beverage with any current or former Bucks player, who would it be and why?
So my favorite Bucks player of all time, and I've actually got to meet him once, is Derek
Oh,
Brooks,
ooh.
linebacker for the Buccaneers. One of my former coworkers at Barnes and Noble played at Florida State with him, and he actually came and did a book signing at Barnes and Noble. And I met him very briefly. He was very nice. So I would want to extend that interaction to
Yeah.
get to spend more time with him. He's a really cool guy. He truly kind of has become like the face of the Buccaneers, like the most well-respected, most beloved member of the Buccaneers, in my mind, at least.
Yeah.
And so it'd be
Oh,
Derek Brooks for me.
that's so cool that you've already met him. That's kind of like me. So like I'd want to take Patrick Willis out for a beer, and I interviewed
Okay,
him
yeah.
before, but like only over Zoom. So I didn't get to physically meet him, but like we had an hour on Zoom together, and it was crazy. It was amazing. But like he's somebody that like if I could sit and just like hang out with him for a beer, oh, it would be phenomenal. So yeah, I know what you
Yeah.
mean with that.
Yeah.
So
And I
okay,
think as a fantasy guy, I get plus points because I didn't pick an offensive player. I picked a defensive guy. So
you did honestly. Do you play in any leagues that like you guys draft defensive players?
So I'm in the Kings Classic
Yeah.
for the IDP division, the Dick Buckus. We're IDP league,
Ooh.
and that's 11 IDP positions, not like 3 or 4. So we're
Mm.
drafting full defense, full offense, and we do that draft every year in Canton, Ohio. So this last year was the
That's
first year.
cool.
So it's really cool. We do it right in the Hall of Fame. They have like some conference rooms, and we did it right there
Yeah.
this year. So it was really
Okay,
cool.
you're making me want to ask another question now because like I see that obviously
Oh.
you've been to Canton for like all like everybody goes there for the fantasy football stuff and it looks like amazing. Like I've been invited, I've wanted to go. It looks so much fun. So like what's your favorite part about attending an event like that?
It's interesting because I've gone 3 years now, and the first year was definitely just meeting the people I wanted to meet.
Mm.
And Andy Behrens and Dave Richard and like all these big people that I didn't grow up, but like as I was getting in the industry, like I looked up to these people and I would read their articles and I would watch their shows. So meeting them was probably for the first year was the biggest plus. The second year, I had made all these great friends in the community. So the second year, I decided I wanted to film this video with Starts and Salutations at Expo with my friends. Like the people that had, been closest to me that I've gotten to know, I wanted to have some fun with them. So that was the second year. And then this last year, I remember JL Garofalo, the head of over at Front Yard Fantasy, and I were talking, and I said, this year I'm not looking forward to I'm not going to do any content. I don't want to like really meet anyone. I'm just there to kind of thank people and thank them for, helping me move along in the industry like I have. And then little did I know, like 4 weeks later, I'd have a full-time job in the industry. I had no idea that was going to happen when I went there, but I was going there this last year just to thank people and like, it's for helping me, be on your show and different things. But my favorite interaction from it was Steve Falco. He is a really great kid, just starting off in the industry. And his goal was to meet Dave Richard. And for me to be able to make that introduction for him, that was everything, because I'd done exactly what other people had done for me in that moment. So
Yeah.
But it's great.
Oh,
If you have a chance to go to the expo, go. It's so much fun.
I need to get there, honestly. Of course, I'm living in Italy right now, but eventually we want to get back to like the West Coast. And if we do move back to Vancouver someday, then I will definitely go to the expo. I feel like I have to. Okay, now I have to ask another question just because you said it.
Go.
So
Yeah.
you obviously just mentioned that like you just started working in the industry not too long ago. So what kind of made you want to break into the fantasy football industry to begin with? And what were you kind of doing beforehand? You kind of mentioned it to me already, but I would love for you to talk about where you came from and like how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, I've kind of been roaming around and just trying to figure out what is it that I'm going to do. Like you look behind me, there's tons of movies. I was a film critic for a while. I worked at Barnes and Noble and I was their music and DVD manager because I used to do music promotions as well. So to marry those two to be able to, help people select movies and select music, that was a huge thing for me, but that didn't work out. I did water conditioning for a while, which was my family's business. And just that wasn't a fit. And I was laying in bed one day and I was in a industry league and I ended up falling flat on my face in the final matchup of the season in the championship. It was the Raz Bowl for Rasball. And I made a big spectacle of it in a very fun way.
Yeah.
Made it very tragic and whatnot, overacted it. And they were like, we had a lot of fun with you. We'd love for you to come write for us. And at that time I was out of film criticism film journalism for about 4 or 5 years. And I was getting that itch to do something creative again. And I was like, sure, I'll write a couple articles. And it wasn't until I really joined Front Yard Fantasy till I really felt like, oh man, this might be something I want to do for like a job, but I didn't think it'd be a possibility. So yeah.
Amazing.
I don't want to say it just happened because that sounds like I didn't work hard. I worked my butt off, and my wife and my kids sacrificed a lot for the last 2.5, 3 years to get me to where I am today. It's not just me doing it. I mean, I could never have gotten a full-time job in the industry had my wife not watched the kids every single Sunday so I could watch football games or watch them on Wednesday nights so I could go out in the woods and record a video with my friends. Like there's no way that it would have ever been possible without my family.
Well, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that I guess people don't really realize. And to have those people that are around you that support the dream is amazing. Like I'm kind of in the same boat with my husband. He is helping me right now with the baby, making sure if she does wake up, he's there, because it's important to have people that believe in what you're doing too. And
Absolutely.
so, shout out to those people. If you have them in your life, hold on to them because they're truly worth it. They're the keepers, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the last episode, the baby was on, and so I was kind of hoping, but no, I'm just kidding.
I know.
So cute.
The baby had an ear infection when I had Yaz on, and the hubby was away for work, so I couldn't just leave her crying. And I'm like, Yaz, if she starts getting a little fussy, I have to bring her on. And you know what? I just let her sit on my lap, but. Yeah, today she's actually feeling a lot better, thank God. So
good.
Maybe she'll come on the next one. If I come on your little, what's the one you just mentioned, the game show one?
The game show.
Yeah. That would be fun.
I'll bring her on.
Maybe I'll bring her on that one. She can help me out. She can be my lifeline.
Absolutely.
Okay, dude. So we've got a really epic matchup coming up this weekend. You guys are coming off a big win against the Titans, 20-6. Baker's quietly doing his thing, which is kind of cool. What do you think about him?
Listen, I like Baker. I mentioned that I'm used to my Buccaneers losing. And Baker, we're not winning every game, but he's got heart. And that's all that I truly ever care about my players is that they have a lot of heart, a lot of determination. And whether you think Baker throws a lot of interceptions or he's not good, he's got heart, he's got determination. But the last 3 games, multiple touchdowns in 3 straight and 4 QB1 performances in a row. I mean, is it anything for Tampa Bay? I mean, coming into the season, I was like, Tampa Bay, Caleb Williams, let's tank on the season. But I'm kind of taking a shine to Baker. I'll be honest. I am. I think with a good defense, Baker's the kind of quarterback that honestly is one of the better quarterbacks we've ever had. If you look at it, I mean, Jameis Winston was great for fantasy, but we didn't win a lot of games. But if Baker can help us win games and we get a good defense, I'm fine with Baker as my quarterback.
Yeah. I kind of compared him a little bit to Jimmy G just because I had that same feeling with him that people didn't really understand why he was winning or how he was winning. But he was winning, you know what I mean? Yeah, he threw a couple interceptions here and there, but like he still got the job done for the Niners when he was with us. So, I mean, now he just got benched with the Raiders, so I feel for them. I had bought my dad a jersey because like I was a big Garoppolo fan, and then he went to the Raiders and my dad's a Raiders fan. So I'm like, Dad, I'll get you a Garoppolo jersey. And then look at what happened. So I feel like I'm kind of the bad luck charm with it, but it's fine. We're not going to go there. You guys are now 4-5 on the season. How are you feeling about the team overall?
I mean, I think if we make the playoffs, it'll be great. That'll be great, but I'm not expecting them to go to the Super Bowl, even make a deep playoff run. I think we've got some good pieces there. If we can hold on to Mike Evans, I know that he's now in his 10th season. If we could just hold on to him for one more year, him and Chris Godwin, like, okay, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins are out there. Sure. I think Godwin and Evans truly are one of the best wide receiver duos in the league. I don't want that to break up. And Cade Otton is a fantastic tight end. He's really coming on this season. I'm excited for him. And this defense, I mean, Antonio Winfield, like, let's go. Like, the Buccaneers kind of, if you think of like the mid 2000 Buccaneers, they were built on their defense. The Tony Dungy Buccaneers, and then John Gruden came in and won Dungy Super Bowl. But, you know, we were a defensive team. Even the team with Brady, there was an elite defense. And that was just 3 years ago. So, you know, with Levante David and the other pieces we have there, I think we've got some good stuff. Just maybe bring in a couple picks through the draft, and we'll be good to go.
So BetMGM has the 49ers as 10.5-point favorites at the moment. What do you think goes down in the Bay for this matchup, given that they have such a stretch?
Listen, we haven't talked much about your 49ers. They're one of the best teams in the league. I know they had that 3-game losing streak there in the middle, but I truly think they've kind of righted the ship. They're top 10 in every category, basically, per position. So I think the Bucs are really going to struggle, both from an NFL perspective and from a fantasy perspective this week. San Francisco, I think they're going to throw a lot. And that's what you do on the Bucs. I mean, the secondary, it's like Swiss cheese. Just keep it away from Winfield, and you can do fine against the Bucs. It's true. If you throw at him, though, you might have some trouble. But I think Ayuk and Kittle are going to have good days, which means Brock Purdy, I think, is going to have a really good day. And any other running back in the league, I would say, hey, you know, maybe if you have other options, look at sitting him. But CMC is pretty matchup proof, I would say. I feel pretty safe saying that. If I had to make a score prediction, I'd say 49ers 27, Bucs 13 feels about right.
Ooh, interesting. Okay, I'm a fan of that. Okay, I have to ask you, just because you mentioned it. I've got Purdy in a couple of leagues, right?
Yeah.
And I also have Patrick Mahomes. Who do I start this weekend? Because the part is like, maybe I start Purdy.
Listen, I think you and I we're both attractive people, but I don't think we should get too cute here. You start Mahomes, like truly, just don't overthink it there. Don't get too cute. Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned a little bit of this. Our defense has had some issues prior to the game, like against the Jags. You know, we were kind of on that 3-game losing streak. We signed Chase Young, who used to play with Nick Bosa in Ohio State. Those two guys, like, they joke around about being, you know, racing to the quarterback and everything. How will Baker Mayfield fare against this refreshed D with Nick Bosa there and Chase Young by his side?
I mean, if you look at the tier of quarterbacks that the 49ers have played this year, I mean, I think Baker is definitely a tier 2 below Trevor Lawrence, and they held him to 185 yards passing in the Jaguars stadium. I think the 49ers are going to just do just fine against Baker. I think Baker's really going to struggle.
Oh, no.
To be honest.
God.
It's okay.
I know that there's a clip of like Bosa like saying like that he was like talking to him the last time we played against him too, when he was with, who was it, Cleveland? And he was like, Baker, like getting in his head and everything. So I'm wondering if he's going to do it again. We'll see. I have you know what? The Bucs are, again, like I've said this in the past. There's a bunch of teams we've played this year that I have nothing against them. Like Jags, for example. I think they're a great team. I don't sit here saying F them like I do the Seahawks and the Cowboys and whatnot, right? So the Bucs are kind of like that for me. I'm like, you know what? I give them their flowers. I think they're a great team. My hubby is a Patriots fan, but it's a terrible year for him. But obviously he was happy to see, you know, Brady go to another team and get that Super Bowl and everything. So like the Bucs, I always kind of had a soft spot for. So I'm not sitting here being like, ooh, F the Bucs, but obviously I have to cheer for my team over yours, but it is what it is.
Absolutely. It's tough for me. Like as a Bucs fan, like I'm supposed to not like the Falcons and I'm supposed to not like the Saints, but I've got good friends that are all Falcons and all Saints fans. And I've been to those games, the division games, and they're great. So I have nothing bad to say about the Falcons or Saints. Now Panther fans, they're dirt and they don't deserve to be on, you know, in the stadium. I don't know why they let them inside. No, I'm kidding.
Well, we all have that one team, right? I feel that way
Yeah, it's
about
still
Seahawks
everybody's got
fans.
the one team. It's Panthers for
Yeah.
me for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's okay. They're not having a great season, so let's just leave them alone. We took CMC and then they just went downhill, but it's all good. Okay, so I've asked this every single time to all my guests that I've had this year. I'm curious to know what you think too. So Brock Purdy, I'm wearing the shirt, feels pretty great, baby. He's played enough games now to say that he's basically been a starter for an entire season. He's been pretty solid up until like those 3 games where like he got a concussion too. Like there's just been some trauma, obviously. I like to hear the opposing analysts' thoughts about him because like apparently I'm pretty biased when it comes to 49ers quarterbacks. So what is your honest opinion about Brock Purdy?
I love him as an NFL quarterback. I think once you prove it on an NFL field, your draft pedigree goes away to some degree. And so I don't really care about his draft pedigree anymore. Brock Purdy's proven last year that he was a winner. He's proven this year that he's a winner. And that 3-game losing streak, like those are really tough defenses they played. With the Browns was one of the losses, right?
Yep.
Which has turned into one of the best defenses in the league. And too bad they're not going to be defending anything else now. Deshaun Watson's out for the season.
Yeah, I just saw that.
I like Purdy. I think, letting Trey Lance move on was the right thing for the 49ers to do. I think it was the good thing for them to give him another chance. Then he went to Dallas. So, behind Dak, you never know what could happen. But I do think, you never know. Dak, he misses games. But I think the 49ers are going to be in good hands with Brock Purdy. For a fantasy perspective, though, I think he's kind of middle of tier. In 2 quarterback leagues, I would love to have Brock Purdy on my team. But in 1 quarterback leagues, it'd be matchup dependent, like a bye week fill-in.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, I'm going to hand the ball over to you now. Give me Joey's 3 keys for the Bucs proving everybody wrong, the odds makers wrong, and getting the dub on Sunday against the 49ers.
So the first thing the Bucs that are going to have to do, if you've looked at when the 49ers have struggled this year, it's been when Brock Purdy's been pressured. So they have to pressure Brock Purdy. And they do have a good defensive line that can help pressure him. So I'm hoping that they will be able to do that. The second, the Buccaneers, the secondary needs to show up. It's like I said earlier, it's been Swiss cheese outside of Winfield. Like, I'm not sure that we can guard a receiver, truthfully. But, if the secondary shows up, I think they can win. And just to kind of pull something from Scott Reynolds from the Pewter Report, they need to abandon the conservative approach. The Buccaneers are one of the most conservative teams, kind of predictable, run it on first, run it on second, throw on third. And if they abandon that, maybe get some trick plays in there, look downfield a lot. And that's why I think Mike Evans could have maybe a good day of any of the Bucs. I think the Bucs can compete if they pull off a win. Listen, the Denver Broncos just won a big game last week. Anything can happen in the NFL. The owners have to make their money too. Any given Sunday. I think the 49ers, they're in the seat to win this game, but anything can happen.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. These are sometimes like we call them trap games, right? And like this is a game potentially it could go either way for us, right? Like couple mistakes start happening. We build up on those penalties, which have been killing us in the games that we have lost. Like we have way too many stupid penalties. And then, it just kind of goes downhill. So you never know. Okay, for fantasy purposes, I like to ask a little spicy start and sit suggestion. So looking at Tampa's roster, who are you crowning as your starter for the weekend?
Mike Evans. So you're going to start anyone from the Bucs. It's going to be Mike Evans. My friend Josh Cho coined a nickname for Mike Evans. He called him Patty Cake because he's Baker's man. And I thought that was so clever, so good. Because I don't think the Bucs should be able to run on San Francisco. I just don't. I think, getting downfield, if they're going to do this, throw deep downfield, and Mike Evans is going to get targeted on a lot of those passes. Evans is on track to have his, 10th 1,000-yard receiving season in a row. And,
wow.
And so no NFL wide receiver has ever done that. And so Mike Evans, I think if anyone's going to succeed on the Bucs, it'll be Mike Evans this weekend. Yeah.
Okay. On the flip, who would you sit?
Listen, he's been really good lately, and that's Rachaad White. I'm not going to start him this week. I would sit Rachaad White. He still barely has over 3 yards to carry over the last 4 games where he's looked fantastic. He's gotten a lot of those fantasy points, though, off of check down passes. Over the last 2 weeks, running backs that have gotten check down work against the 49ers, Joe Mixon, 26 yards, Travis Etienne, 9 yards. That's it. And Rachaad White's been getting like 50, 60-yard receiving games. It's not going to happen against San Francisco. And then if you try to run against them, I think Rachaad White's going to struggle. We've seen it even last year when you check down to Rachaad White, he can make plays happen, get the ball in his hands, throw it to him out of the backfield. Okay, Rachaad White can perform. But if he has to actually rush, it's a struggle. And I think that's why the Bucs brought in Sean Tucker, who's not panned out. Because Sean Vaughn is not panned out. Chase Edmonds, they thought maybe he can be a receiving back. It's the Buccaneers running game is in so much trouble. I'm not depending on Rachaad White this weekend.
All right. I like the honesty. Okay. Last question, because I love to end on a super positive, inspiring note. Like I said before, you're constantly a light on my timeline. You've always been able to uplift others. It's something that, I've even seen that you sent cookies to fellow fantasy football analysts when they're out at certain cafes, which is so amazing. You have such a good, beautiful soul. That was David. I'm pretty sure him and his wife. I think I saw something like that, right?
Yeah, it was kind of creepy how I did it too. I looked in the background of the photo to figure out where, because I knew they were out of town. So I figured out what cafe they were at, and I called the cafe, and I was like, "Can I send cookies to a table?" And they're like, "Are you a serial killer?" I'm like, "No." So, yeah.
I think it's beautiful. Honestly, there's a lot of really terrible people in the world, but you're the complete opposite of it, and I love it. So now looking at the online situation, I've dealt with some pretty shitty people. I've had, even for my belief in Brock Purdy, people are coming at me. I've had to block a lot of people, and I've seen other people that are receiving hate for fantasy takes that they have, or the way that they give their fantasy takes, or whatever it may be, right? So of course, there's going to sometimes be those people out there that create this negative space online. How do you stay positive in this industry? And I guess what kind of advice do you have, to push others to keep going even when the critics get a little loud?
Yeah, so just don't respond. It does no good for anyone. If somebody wants to have a good debate with you on a starter sit that they disagree with, and they come to you on a very civil line, fantastic. Have that conversation with them, but don't ever get into a debate with someone, and don't ever, use bad word, just don't respond to it. If someone's coming at you negatively, there was a very public tweet that went out not long ago where somebody accused me of doing something to my daughter. I did not respond to it. Yeah, I'm not going to get it, but that's an example. If it's, people are because when they hide behind a name and 17 letters, they can say whatever they want. Don't respond to it.
Those people.
It's going to do no good for you at all. And avoid it. Look at the people you have surrounding you. If you see negativity around you, remove yourself from it. It's something I learned in film criticism. This fantasy community is incredible. It truly, truly is. There are a lot of wonderful, wonderful people, and I surround myself with a lot of those wonderful people. And I learned in film criticism, there's a lot of people that are just kind of want to step on your throat. And of course, in this industry, there's that too. And just don't give those people the time of day. And that might sound rude. Be kind to those people, but don't surround yourself with them. Don't let them bring their negativity onto you. Just deflect it. I mean, we were in a league together this was it this last season or the one before?
I think last season.
There was somebody in there just straight up being not a good person. And what happened? I left the league because I wasn't going to surround myself with it. And that might seem a little dramatic, but I didn't make it dramatic. I just said, everyone have a nice time. I'm going to part ways. I think it's just important just to stay positive and just don't bring any negativity to the table, because that's all that's going to come right back to you. Whatever you put out there is what's going to come back to you, I guess, is a nice way of saying it.
Yeah. And if you start to surround yourself with more people who are like-minded and put good vibes out there, that's what you're going to feel every day anyways. And so that's what I've started doing. I've started muting the people that I don't want to see their negativity. And then you just don't get tempted to even, interact with it. And there's the wonderful thing on Twitter, especially, is you can go to your notifications and mute notifications from literally everyone that doesn't follow you, that you don't follow, that this, that, whatever. And you don't even have to see it. And it's just such a breath of fresh air being in your own positive, happy bubble, right? So I love that advice.
Yeah. I fully believe in muting. Don't block. I feel like if you block someone, you're giving them ammunition. But if you mute them and you just ignore what they say, let's not be petty, but it irks the people that are trying to get a rise out of you when they don't get what they want. Don't give them what they want. Don't breed into their negativity. And I think anyone that's intelligent will tell you that, because it just makes you look like an idiot if you go right back at them. So.
Oh, exactly. I know. So we're going to focus on the good always. It was absolutely a pleasure to have you on here. I'm so happy that you joined me. Thank you again, Joey. You're seriously the best.
Thank you so much for having me.
Find you?
You can find me on Twitter or X, whatever they're calling it this week, at the Joey Wright. And I think it's important. Like, listen, I've been on a lot of shows and I've had my name out there and I've had a lot of success. I'm going to use this moment to promote someone that I met at Expo that really doesn't have a lot of followers that I think does really great work. Steve Falco at Steve_FOP. Go follow Steve. He's a great guy. He's just starting out. Look at what he's doing. He's doing something really interesting. He did not pay me to say this. He doesn't know I'm saying it. I don't think I've spoken to him since I was in Canton. But when I came on here today, I was like, I've given my ad out so many times. I'm going to give somebody else's out that I think is doing good work. So everybody go check out Steve's work.
That right there is literally just like, that is a definition of who you are as a person. I absolutely love that. Yeah. Instead of like even accepting anything for yourself, you're throwing it to somebody else who you think is very deserving. I love that. So again, thank you, Joey. I appreciate it. We will see you next time. Thanks for joining.
Bye.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to Crystal Ballin'. Next week, we've got a doozy for American Thanksgiving. Yes, we're heading to Seattle to play the Sea Chickens. I'll be in Vancouver watching, and I've got a great guest who started doing her thing in the sports industry all because of her love for the Seahawks. She's even married to a 49ers fan, which I don't know how the hell they do it, but I'm excited to dig in. Anyways, I appreciate you guys for watching, and I love the heck out of you guys. As always, I'm sending you all the good vibes and fantasy wins this season. Peace.